Hi friends, how's it going? Today we're gonna draw some mushrooms together. Isn't this fun? Don't forget to like and subscribe. I know, I hate this part, but I guess I have to remind you guys. Did you guys know that I graduated in marketing? Marketing is not a skill I was born with. Also not one I acquired in school because I'm really bad at it. It's painful. Anyway, let's get started.
First, let's talk art supplies. I'm using the Strathmore mixed media paper, some alcohol markers to color the mushrooms, pencil and eraser, and a white gel pen. So let's start with our first mushroom. I'm starting with the pencil so we can really get the shapes right before painting, and mushrooms in general have this basic shape that we all know. The top is like a semicircle that can be shaped in many different ways. Like this one I'm doing like a more pointed top and it curves down like around the bottom. Then we have the stem, which you can also play with different thickness and shapes. And here I'm drawing a thinner looking stem that gets thicker towards the bottom. It's also really nice to let the bottom of the cap appear a little bit like this. I'm also adding this optional detail here on the stem. You don't really have to do this, but I think it's kind of cute. And to make it easier for you guys to see on video, I'm going to outline everything with a fine line 005 ink pen. This is totally optional, but I find it really hard to show the pencil marks for you guys with my overhead camera, which happens to be my phone, and it's just not great. So yeah, the ink pen is basically just to help you guys see the proper shape. And before we paint, let's keep working on our sketches. So moving on to the next mushroom, now we are going to draw some taller ones with this smaller, more rounded caps and thinner stems like this. Super cute. And again, you can see that I'm working with the same system of drawing the semicircle for the cap, making the bottom visible, and then drawing the stems. And using these three little rules, you can start getting more creative and really playing with all the shapes and details and create some different cool mushrooms that come to your mind. Next, let's make some thicker and shorter ones. Like these are super basic, but they're, I don't know, they like feel cozy to me. I also like this stem getting more rounded and thicker at the bottom. Gives me the feeling of like security and stability. I don't know, am I overanalyzing this? Sorry guys, let's focus on the drawing. So now for the next one, I'm going to show you a little more complex design, but you can do it. I promise it's not that hard. And they look super cool. It's like a layered mushroom. So to start, you draw the thicker stems curved like this to the sides. Imagine there is like one main mushroom and then all these other mushrooms that are coming out of this main mother mushroom, if you will. And as the stem moves up, it curves into the cap, if that makes any sense. The caps are also not exactly a semicircle like the ones before. It's more like a sausage shape that goes around the top of the stem. It's hard to describe. You see what I'm doing, right? And you can draw as many as you want to create this really cool effect. Here, I'm basically just outlining them so you can see them better. And next, we are going to draw another one that's a little different. So for this one, imagine that the cap of these mushrooms are reversed, kind of like an umbrella in the wind, and they turn into this rounded shape that almost looks like a flower with an opening at the top. I like drawing the opening very imperfectly because it creates some movement and the stems can be really thin and delicate like this. So I really like this one. I think it's super different and it's very easy to make it look amazing. Next, we are going to draw some flat mushrooms, and these are basically some random shapes on top of each other, and they have these beautiful lines inside that follow the movement of each shape that will become more visible when we color. But yeah, these ones are super cool, and if you look at pictures of them online, they are like there's so many colorful ones. They're just absolutely amazing. So our next one has the basic shape of a mushroom again. What's different about this one is that we are going to create some bubbles on it to create a cool texture. I actually have never done this before, but I'm following a reference picture and I thought this texture was really cool. So I'm gonna try to recreate this. And to create the bubbles, I'm basically drawing them with a pencil before. It's like I'm drawing a bunch of circles, but the bubbles are not exactly round. And I'm just marking them with a pencil so it's easier to paint them later on. Now the next one is going to have kind of a flat but larger cap that curves itself a lot. Kind of like one of those big beach hats that the influencers use. I mean, I don't really know if the influencers use this hat, but it seems like a fair assumption, or am I, maybe no one uses this hat. It makes me think of a Malibu socialite kind of life. So this is the mushroom, basically. For our next one, we're making the cap flat like a pancake. They have little cuts on the outsides like this, and then we can draw the stems, and that's a cute basic mushroom drawing for you. Very simple and easy to make, and looks super cute. So now we're coming to our last mushroom, and here we're doing some more pointed and taller caps and these more delicate stems. I'm also drawing a group of these mushrooms in different sizes like this, and yeah, I think it's gonna create a cool effect combined with all the others. So these are our 10 mushrooms that we're working with today. Now that we have all the shapes ready, we can erase the pencil marks a little bit, just enough that they don't show through the markers, but we're gonna leave a little bit behind so you can still see some details that you might find useful for when you're painting, like the bubbles and some lines. Now we're gonna start coloring it. I'm gonna work with this earthy color scheme, which feel free to copy because these colors look so cozy. It's like a warm hug from Mother Earth, and also kind of fall vibes, I didn't plan that, but fall is almost here, so here you go. So for this first mushroom, I'm adding a base color and painting just half of the stem with it to create a shadow effect. And now with a darker tone, I'm gonna create some random spots on the cap, and here you want to create some clusters of spots so they don't look too much like perfect dots. You don't want to create like a polka dot effect, so to look more natural, you can just make the spots more towards one side than the other, like I did here. So mine, I'm putting them all kind of towards the right side of the cap, and now I'm making the lines on the bottom to create the traditional mushroom look. So with these colors, I ended up thinking it was looking a little bit too flat. So with a dark brown, I created some darker spots everywhere. Again, more towards the right of the mushroom to create some depth and contrast, which totally optional. You don't really have to do that. And I did this shadow underneath the cap and this other detail of the stem, and I thought it looked really cool. So I'm gonna try to replicate this shadow scheme where like the light is coming from the upper left corner of the page, and yeah, I'm gonna try to replicate the same light scheme with the other mushrooms as well. Now I'm gonna start with some lines on the caps, making them all come from the top and creating this darker spot on the top that also helps create some depth to our drawing. Now we can draw the lines at the bottom of the cap with a different color, and to create that shadow we can paint one side of each stem like this. It doesn't really matter what side you choose, just pick one and just go with it for all of your mushrooms so they all are like harmonized and they have all the same lights and same shadow schemes. I kind of like the way it looks already, but with alcohol markers you can get some really cool effects when you layer different colors. So I'm just gonna play with it, experiment. And I'm just gonna add another layer of lines with this brown, and I'm going to do like more of like a hatching movement where I'm not doing like a full line, but like just focusing more on the center of this oval shape. And here you go, this is our second mushroom. Now I don't really think I need to walk you through every little decision I make with this coloring part because you're watching me do it and I don't want to bore you to death. So to summarize it, I basically chose a color for the cap, a color for the shadows, a color for the stem, which could be just the white of the page, another color for the lines at the bottom of the stem, and from here you can just get creative and do whatever you want. You can also use the same color for everything and do like a more minimalistic flat style illustration. You don't really have to add shadows and add all of these details, but if you want to add more details and just play with patterns and textures, you can play with like dots, circles, lines, more shadows, and basically just keep trying new color combinations so you get more familiar with this color scheme and just really explore all the possibilities and ideas for these mushrooms. Also for this one, I'm introducing the white gel pen that works really well with alcohol markers, especially to cover places where you need to fix something or to add a little detail on top of like a darker color. And if you want to fix something here and there, it's not like you can cover like a huge area, but a little bit goes a long way to make your drawing look more neat and clean. This part is almost like a coloring book, so it's just really satisfying to color in between the lines. That's why I kind of like using the fine line ink pen to contour the drawing, even Even though I really don't love the contoured look, I don't think it's too natural and it looks too much like a drawing when we contour it first. But just the process of painting inside the contour is so fun and relaxing to me. And you can also really play with different patterns to decorate your mushrooms. You can also use the white gel pen to create some spotlights like this. You can use like a hatching movement to create a more natural light. And if you want to create more depth and contrast, the white gel pen really helps you out. For our next one, we're going to attempt the bubbles look. It's more like popped bubbles. Imagine like you have like bubbles and then they popped and then they left like a little bubble mark. I think this is what it looks like in my head, but it's kind of like a sponge. It's hard to describe. Anyway, I'm basically just adding color inside of the circles and leaving the contour white. The circles are very uneven and not perfect at all, and that's important to create this more natural look. And then with a few different tones of beige, I'm painting another layer inside of the bubbles that are at the bottom of this curve of the cap and towards the right of it to create some shadow. And as you can see, the mushroom's starting to pop a little bit and it looks a little bit more 3D. So you really don't have to create this effect, but it's just really cool to try it out. And I actually really like this texture in the end. I do think it looks like a sponge. Also, to create these lines at the bottom of the cap in a more realistic way, you can draw them a little curved from the center out and then create some shadows like this in the outside edges. You see the effect this creates. It's a really simple detail that makes your mushroom look just more natural and more realistic, you know? We're not actually trying to make it look realistic, but it's cool to practice some more natural shadow schemes that you can like adapt with different colors and different techniques. Here I'm just painting these other bubbles at the stem and hatching some lines at the length of the stem to create some more texture. And yeah, this is our bubble mushroom. Of course, that's not the name of it. I named it the bubble mushroom, okay? In this next one, we are starting with the lines at the bottom of the cap to make the movement of these mushrooms, and I'm also painting the top of the cap with a solid brown to create some separation between the bottom and the top of the cap. I'm also using the beige to cover the white around the brown lines, and with this deep burgundy color, it's like a wine color. I just love this color, it's so pretty. It's also the darkest tone I'm working with today. We are going to create the shadows on this one and just create more depth here. Another tip I have for you is to use the white gel pen to cover the black ink pen contour we did before we started coloring, especially at the bottom of the cap. And in my opinion, it makes it look so much better. This is also more how you find them in nature, right? Like we don't really have black line contours in real life, so the white gel pen really helps here. Now I'm gonna try to use just some basic solid colors, and I actually really like this more minimalistic look. We don't really need lines or patterns or textures or shadows to create some really cool mushrooms. Honestly, we can just use solid colors and color between the lines and do this fast and easy, and it's gonna look beautiful. Anyway, this time a full color for the stems, and I really like the contrast between these two colors here. And now I'm gonna add some lines with the brown marker in the length of the stems to create some texture. I also use the brown to create a little bit of shadow at the bottom part of the caps, just like I was doing in the first mushrooms. And it's like right at the curve, like to create this curved effect. It's really subtle. I don't even know if you can see, but it kind of brings the mushroom to another level in my opinion. This little details, guys, it's just like it's all in the little details. And speaking of details, now we're gonna use the white gel pen to do a little hatching over the stems just to create a few spotlights. And you can also do that white line around the bottom of the mushroom cap like I told you before. It does make it seem a little more natural and a little less like a drawing. So, you know, if that's what you're going for, then the white gel pen is your friend. Now this one is super easy and fun. All you have to do is draw some lines inside each shape, following the outline of the shape like this. Start with one color and keep repeating it, creating this same shape over and over, and it's totally fine to change the thickness of the line as you go. I actually love this more imperfect look, so yeah, just don't be too much of a perfectionist here. Just let your hands follow the curves you created on your sketch, and then you can pick another color to create some more lines like this. You can keep adding colors, and also like depending on how much space you have left, how big you did your drawing or what kind of material you're using, you can also play with the thickness of the lines and create different effects. You can can add more colors or less colors. I ended up using only 3 markers, and I left some white spaces that I'm enhancing with the white gel pen, and I thought it created a really beautiful color scheme. This is a really cool and easy layered flat mushroom for you. And now we're reaching the end of our video with our last mushroom of the day, and this one is super simple. It's just basically some solid colors, a dark brown to create some shadow underneath the mushroom caps, and I'm gonna do some random dots with the white gel pen to add some texture to it. Very simple and super cute. And yeah, these are our 10 mushrooms with alcohol markers. Super beautiful and fun to make. If you do follow this tutorial and create something with it, make sure to share on Instagram and tag me so I can share your art with my audience as well. And I can't wait to see what you guys create. This is it, everyone. I hope you liked this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any tutorial requests for me, feel free to leave it in the comments. I would love to know. If you want to see a little more of me and my content, you can go to my Skillshare page, which is linked in the description. I have more than 10 drawing classes there already, more than 10 hours of content for you guys, so I really hope you enjoy it. I'm gonna see you next week. Bye!